Ah, yes. Adam Lally makes his Season 2 debut, not as a leading man, but instead this time as the recurring guest star character of Hank Brennan's personal assistant.
Good morning, Your Honor. Hank Brennan, on behalf of the Commonwealth, along with me is Attorney Adam Lally and also Attorney Laura Cole.
Good morning, Mr. Brennan. Good morning, Mr. Lally. Good morning, Ms. McCartney.
Ah, yes, somber as always with his baby Sharkadar hairdo. Poor Adam Lally, but if that wasn't rich enough, well, this is the moment that people cannot stop talking about on the Twitter X's.
One is that we were informed this morning that Mr. Brennan has gone through Mr. Morrissey's cell phones. Apparently there is one work cell phone and one personal cell phone.
Oh, so Mr. Hank the Tank is going through Morrissey's phones? His work phone or his personal cellular device? That caught my attention immediately. Oh, but that's not all, folks.
Obviously, the personal cell phone becomes relevant because he used the personal email address to make an ex parte communication with the court.
The subtle shade. David Ronald Yannetti, as one of my fellow viewers had pointed out that his middle name is not Reginald, it is Ronald, but we weren't that far off. Ronald! Ooh, the shade.
The concern that we have is that we were told this morning that with regard to Mr. Morrissey's text messages, not the emails, but text messages, apparently they're somehow remarkably set to auto-delete after 30 days.
Meatball, I didn't know you were that crafty with your cellular devices. What a crafty meatball you are. Hello, and welcome to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people. People who have opinions and can sometimes not pronounce things the correct way, so if I mispronounce anything, thank you so much for pointing that out. I really appreciate you, and thank goodness I am not an attorney, because if I were, I would be, like, tripping all over my words all the dang time. You would make a great paralegal for Mr. Meatball Morrissey. But we are just people, right? We are just people, alas, on this channel, who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including this motions hearing today for the Karen Read trial. Now, a lot of shiz happened today, and we could go over it all, we could rewatch, but I know a lot of you guys probably already tuned in. If you haven't and you want to watch through the entire motions hearing, it's pretty much just Bev taking it all in. She did not rule on anything today, though we did later on find out that she did allow the new attorney, the New York attorney, Robert Alessi, to join Team Karen Read, but not without a little bit of a tug-of-war at first. So if you want to see that go down, I will point you to some of my favorite law tubers who covered the motions hearing in full in my description box below. Pick your poison and go support, go check them out. But I wanted to really zoom in and focus on this particular bit of information because one, I'm very impressed that Morrissey knows, or maybe he hired, like, he asked one of his, like, Gen Z interns, like, how do I set my Android to auto-delete, right? How do I get that? But what's even more confusing is, like, people are saying he has an Android cell phone. I don't know if that's his personal phone or his work phone, but he has an iCloud account. So I just assumed he has an iPhone because you get an iCloud account when you get an Apple product. So I don't know, but I assume one of his devices is through Apple. Also being that Turtle Boy and his team, since not hearing anything from mellow about any of the better letters or Cosgrove. Radio silence on that end. They are also seeking Morrissey's email records, etc., because of this ex parte communication he had with some of his friends in judges' robes.
But I would raise an issue for the court, actually two issues. One is that we were informed this morning that Mr. Brennan has gone through Mr. Morrissey's cell phone. Apparently there is one work cell phone and one personal cell phone. Obviously the personal cell phone becomes relevant because he used the personal email address to make an ex parte communication with the court.
I just love how subtly he says that, like he's looking down. He's like, obviously, like you've heard, we've all heard at this point. Don't play stupid, Bev. You know exactly what's going down. Are you yelling timber? I don't know.
The concern that we have is that we were told this morning that with regard to Mr. Morrissey's text messages, not emails, but text messages, apparently they're somehow remarkably set to auto-delete after 30 days. That obviously raises some questions for us, maybe the subject of a future motion, but more immediately.
And I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be. Because not for nothing, if they're gonna go balls to the wall and try and do whatever they can to get Bill Reed's phone records and get Janet Reed's phone records, well then Meatball's up for grabs. Like, he's fair freaking game. And who else? What other judges has he been communicating with? I mean, if he was so concerned with what is going on in the Turtle Boy case that pertains to witnesses involved in the Karen Reed case, one can only imagine what, if anything, he may have sent or dropped to Beverly Cannoli Oil. I mean, that's just... Is it beneath him? Absolutely not. But, I mean, obviously there's no evidence or proof of that. But I am curious. I am curious to see who he has been reaching out to, because they are completely right. This is a fishing expedition, but I don't think so much it all has to do with Karen Reed, aside from just shutting her up and stopping her from digging. I mean, that's why they're going so hard into this, but because I believe that they are concerned as to who else they've been talking to. Potentially Josh Levy's office. Who knows? And congrats to Josh Levy, because it looks like he is going to be staying as the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts. And I mean, people are like, is Trump going to get rid of him? Who knows? I mean, he might. But I mean, Josh Levy is on a roll. He is on a roll right now.
The concern is every day that passes, we're losing text messages from 30 days prior. So, you know, through today, I believe...
They were preserved, Mr. Brennan?
I've been preserving them since I started the task last week. I'll continue to preserve them this week.
All right, so that...
Yes, that deals with that issue. So the only remaining issue, Your Honor, is...
I mean, but are they actually being preserved? Hank the Tank was hand-selected by Meatball to be the special prosecutor in this case, and he's the one who's going through your cell phone? And people wonder why. People wonder why we have to raise an eyebrow. People wonder why we get so sus around these things, because they don't make it easy for us to believe that they are doing the noble thing.
With regard to the searches that Mr. Brennan conducted himself, he had searched for all emails sent from Michael Morrissey's iCloud personal email to any emails that had a JUD in the suffix of the email address.
Okay. The significance of that is?
The significance is that would supposedly capture any ex parte communications with members of the judiciary or the clerk's office, and I appreciate that effort. However, we think we assert that it's insufficient. We believe that searches should be done of his iCloud email for the name Reed, spelled R-E-A-D correctly, or Reed, R-E-E-D, which is how Mr. Morrissey typed it in his ex parte communication with the court.
Because this is only like one of the biggest cases probably of his career that he'll be prosecuting, right? This is the hill that he is going to forever shrivel up and die on, right? It's the fact that he was responsible for prosecuting a factually innocent woman not once, but twice. And unsuccessfully at that fact. And I'd be especially curious to see who else he's been in communication with. I would also love to see Tully and who he's been communicating with, because we already know. We already have an idea of that. This feels oddly familiar. I think it was Higgity Diggity who had sent Proctor screenshots of his conversation with Karen Reed because they were trying to prove, oh, she's a cheater. She's cheating with Higgity Diggity on Officer John O'Keefe. And that's the motive. We got her, slam dunk. But the only one who's slam dunking around here is Maura Healey.
We don't know if he did that for the purpose of avoiding a FOIA request or if he just misspelled my client's name. But we believe there should be a search for both of those spellings. And in addition, we also believe there should be a search of his email address, the personal email address, for the names of the relevant witnesses, and we can give the court a list, for the names of all judges who have sat on this case, in terms of, is there an attempt to communicate with a judge on some type of personal email account, like he used a personal email account. And then also we believe there should be a search for any clerk's office employees for the same reason, both at Stoughton District Court, where this case originated, and this court as well. We have obviously reason not to trust Mr. Morrissey in light of his actions using this personal email account to make an ex parte communication, and we'd ask that a more thorough search be done for these types of communications.
All right, so
And preferably not by Hank the Tank, but I mean, that's just my opinion. Do those judges become witnesses? Then, I mean, if this gets allowed, right, and they're able to extract this information and see, is there anything directly pertaining to Karen Reed's case? Was he communicating with you, Beverly? And if so, like, I mean, I would assume, if it is allowed, then those judges can be called as witnesses. And then, hence, I mean, Morrissey, right? Right? Morrissey would then become a witness in this case. I mean, how do you untangle this web? This is crazy cuckoo bananas. And again, this seemed a little unclear to me, but which phone has auto delete set up? Is it his personal? Because I'm way more curious to see what's going on in his personal account. His personal phone, his personal iCloud account, than his work email and his work phone. And I expect certain, things about other cases aren't going to be, it is going to be a slippery slope for sure, and probably difficult to extract certain things and get certain information. But I want to see those outgoing calls. Who were you calling at 1:30 a.m. in the morning? Because we know Karen Reed wasn't calling you Meatball, and she wasn't calling Bill Reed, and she wasn't calling Janet Reed. So, with that being said, if you enjoyed today's breakdown of the motions hearing, I know we only went over that one little snippet. There was a lot, but again, Bev didn't rule on anything as to be expected. We don't even know when the retrial is going to happen, so whether or not we will be seeing each other in January or not, we shall see. And if that's the case, then we'll do probably like a whole rewatch series here on the channel so we can kind of dive back and refamiliarize ourselves. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you do not miss the next Karen Reed update from me. And make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is newsworthy news, because it is, because nobody in mainstream media wants to talk about this. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.